Okay. Hi, everyone. It's Professional High Priestess here. We're going to go ahead and get started. We have a coding tutorial today. So I just wanted to say, you guys, it's been a long time coming with these coding tutorials. I'm going to redo the one that I did the other day because my screen wasn't being shared, and I apologize about that. For those of you guys who are wondering why I'm wearing glasses, it's because there's a specific chemical that's being blasted onto the planet. And the way in which this chemical works is it changes the force of physics and the spiral rotations and the molecular orbits, right? And the valence structure of the chemicals that are already existing in your body, specifically your eyes. So there's a chemical that's put out, and it's a molecular entity type chemical. They brought it from space. So the problem with that is it can permeate certain layers and levels and cause certain dysfunctions and things like that that you don't want. Specifically, the ability to ground down certain levels of space encoding and magic that amp attach onto the chemicals, its sequences, its reactions, its Lewis structure, etc., to be able to have like an effect in whatever reality that it's working in. So on the planet with chemicals, we have chemical reactions, valence structures, things like that. Lewis structures, byproducts, all those different type of things, molecular orbits, all of that. But in space, they have certain things like using spirals, right? Or using plants, or using crystals, or using geometry, or using speech, which I told you about, or the different geometric patternings that you can go ahead and code to bring down different neural networks and upgrade and change yourself. You guys saw me change myself, right? And I'm teaching you guys how to do that. Some of you guys are not on my Patreon, so you don't know that we've been just going hard and strong with the war, learning about all these different things. And if you're not learning there, then where are you going to be learning? Because a lot of people were not brought into this. This was something that was brought in for the people that fought the war, that got started because of the virtual reality that they activated. So let's go ahead and finish up this coding tutorial. It helps so I can see clearly, right? So let's go ahead and finish up this coding tutorial. It helps for you guys to see me too. Sometimes you can orient and understand the fact that I'm a real person here talking to you and telling you about space, right? And I don't have to go to space to be from space, and that's a great thing. And then sometimes it's not. So let's go ahead and get started with what we're going to do today, which is the play in their data. Okay. So when we had the first level of playing your data, you guys are going to say, what type of coding language am I going to use here? So let's say, for instance, you're like raw code, raw forming. If you're going to use that database structure that I gave you, the first thing that you're going to have to do is put your chem code, right? So you have to open up your portal, 28, this you know. And then I'm going to put down the language that's speaking to the botanical, aquatic, water, and then planetary via floating point and satellites, speaking to all those different intelligences that they're bringing down. I'm going to put down a language that speaks to all of that, that you have to be in the Akasha for. Zerkursor. So we're going to go ahead and pull that one down. And then what we're going to be able to do is say, I want to look for information and data that's going to go ahead and help me on my journey to finding out information that's going to be useful for me in my cases or in just day-to-day life. Now, some of you guys are in law enforcement, some of you guys are in your career, things like that, and you are wondering if you should go ahead and get involved in this activity. You should. Now, some of you guys don't work in those capacities, or you want to use this for your own personal, like, training and things like that. You're going to go ahead and get a spreadsheet on top of the text file that you have here, okay? So you're going to open one of those. Now, let me go ahead and get into that. I'm going to go ahead and open up, I guess, for myself, I don't need a spreadsheet. I'm going to go ahead and just, because I already put it up, I just remember that. So you guys are going to make a spreadsheet, and you can name it whatever you want to name it. Some of you guys already have a spreadsheet for data that you've been collecting. You're going to pull on that, okay? So then the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to just basically set up the fact that you're going to go and do first an intuitive level of data analysis, which we talked about in the last reading. Some of you guys thought that that was a joke until you tried it and you saw that, oh, okay, you need to be in the Akasha to use this. Some people had no effect at all. you see that it's a system that can end up cursing you because you get your stuff leaked. I think that that's the best thing about this is that people can't like step in and like play any type of way. That's where the computer should be. And I think that that's a great thing that this has happened. And that we have the planets to basically sit here and say that why do I only need to speak English and talk to white men? I'm indigenous. You're not even playing with real planets. You're playing with like females that like chip their nails and teeth and stuff like that from all the way over there, and they're giving it to you down here to play. That's like some of the stuff that they're getting if you can like symbolize that. Because these chemicals are coming from planet bodies. They're coming from the planets, but and the stars, satellite, comets, etc. But those have once been a different form. So those are also some of the games that are being played in this universe and in this 815 universal spiral set. So now you're gonna go ahead and you've activated this. You're gonna activate a specific type of quaddle. You guys know we ran through X64 through X86, which is like DNA arrangement, and then the placing of protocols, and then also working with the internet too, with data and memory, moving back and forth on networks. And then we brought down quaddle to change all of that. One of the things that you're gonna see here is if you're wanting to use this system, you're not having to put down that macros just yet. You open up the portal here, but we're going to use that macros. It's basically activating a certain type of like ASIC type coding encoding by stringing together the letters and the numbers to activate certain like memory databases and things such as that that are connected to an alternate number and substance space. So sometimes when we say like number and substance, you're not understanding that certain numbers run certain frequencies. So when you're seeing them do like these high level computations, and it's like brackets over here, you have to do this equation first, and then this equation first, and then that equation at the end. And if this one's not right, that one's going to be wrong. Those type of things. When you're going through those type of like functions, they're just basically saying that I'm attaching and attaching to like the logos here, and I'm running in that space where I can work with certain type of concepts that I pull from my mind or a dictionary or preform set, and then say that I'm going to run in that reality. You can use different levels of like higher indigenous coding and things like that, and then bring down an alternate numbers space that can go ahead and log down to the one that they're currently running, and then you can overpower it. And that's just not what they want to tell you, that they're running bad numbers and it's running bad like it's like it's the biggest reason why they're talking about like environmental damages is because that type of number sequence system is running. You see what I'm saying? So you have to see it like that, like it's causing like a big problem in a lot of people's galaxies and universes and places. And one of the things that they thought that they were going to do to stabilize that and the karma, because it brought like a demon, like who told you that you're going to play with those type of reactions? One of the things that they're trying to do is like hide in different bodies, and this is where you get the structural issues and karma and things like that. And then these different families that get together, and then they play with people of color because they play with people of color to escape the fact that there's a demon that wants them for basically creating a catastrophe as an energy source for themselves. So we're going to go ahead and bring down our logos down here. And you're saying, how can this speak to the computer program? Where I'm in this text file, and because I've activated this, it's activating every single type of door to any coding language. So I don't really have to worry about that. But now some of you guys are like, oh, but how do I put this in like a computer program? That's something where you would then use a different tool. And I already talked about that. And you guys can go ahead and look on my other channel and look at the contextual sets, look at how we organize everything, and then go from there. It wasn't that hard. It just people just needed to leave me alone, right? So um, we're gonna go ahead and work. And now we're gonna say, I want to use a certain type of system, which takes an ear clear, echo clear. And when you say ear clear, echo clear, these can be like different anatomical structures, right? So you have like people that sit there and then they have things like this drawn, like or across their body, head. It's the Azure band. It runs telepathy. Some of you guys are uploaded to the virtual reality. You do not know that basically what they're doing is putting a chemical demon on your Azure band that exists. A lot of white folks, not Faye, which is coming out too. We're not the same. Thank you. They had gotten a chemical sequence put on them to get hit. And that's why when some of the white folks they got hit, they stopped being white. And that's their problem now. They said, I don't want to be involved in that because why would you do that? And then that's when they realized that there's a difference. And then that's how Cyborgia got exposed. So one of the things is somebody gave up their Azure brand and she's cursed and she's trying to attach to everyone's Azure brand to like have like a database of everyone's Azure brand. But I keep on putting magic on my Azure brand to like protect it and stuff like that because the neural monitoring thing, you have to understand this. People were literally following me at my house. Like, how do you know down to the minute that I'm walking like out of my house? That type of stuff. Like I'm getting ready and stuff like that. I just took a shower, da 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 da. That type of stuff was like going on. And there was like a disgusting white man that was like following me out of my house and stuff like that. That's how far the neural programming and things like that were going. So I say that to say if they can use that in a computer, you can do something like this intentionally and connect to databases elsewhere. And that's what they shouldn't have shown people. Right, because of what you guys were doing, playing with magic and like harassing me. This is at 6:30 in the morning. Yeah, standing outside of my house because of what you guys got started every day. Following me downtown when I was talking about doing the chemistry work for you guys, and I was gonna like help you guys like make different mixtures and stuff like that, getting followed. But the funny thing is, I made a video on YouTube right before I talked about that, and then they followed me down there. Do you see what I'm talking about? And this is the hostel down the street from the house where all the people that are hacking everyone's computer, everyone's Cash App, all that Venmo, all that got hacked into. The people that did that, they're living at the hostel down the street from my house. They all came from Russia and different places like that to come and play with that high-powered technology, blasting it towards my head. Yes, because you that's what I'm saying, that they take flights, they get paid and stuff like that to go like play in people's apartment, live in your neighborhood, stuff like that. They did it to Fani, the DA of Atlanta. They went to go barricade themselves into her apartment. So now stuff like that, right? So now people say, okay, but I want to find out information because I don't need to work for the feds. We have our own stuff in the cartel. That's perfect, right? So one of the things that you're going to go ahead and you're going to do here is see like, oh, I'm just basically invoking another anatomy that's going to go ahead and help me see what I need to see in this system and have better capacity, better wherewithal, etc. Right? So these are the different type of anatomy. Like they have like a cloud on the side of their head, their ear. Some of you guys are seeing this, or maybe a little bit too small. All right, there we go. Right. Some people have like these over their eyes. Right. Some folks have this over like their body, their entire form. Some that have this around their ear. I have like dozens of these, dozens. When you guys see these, you're going to be like, okay, they started a war. Right? So let's go ahead and finish up here. So I'm gonna say Zucker. Now some of you guys are like, you say it like this, you say it like that. You write it down like this way. You could say it in different ways. So because it's a language, it's one of three. So they all mean it's like one of three languages. So I just use the one that has like all three components of like the math, the substance space, and then the ASIC type configuration and putting the Z's and R's, Q's, etc. together. Okay, so you guys want to go ahead and find data. Now you're going to start doing this intentionally. That's the first step, right? So then you end up working your way up and being able to get yourself to higher databases and higher access and things like that by using the first level that you were given and then using it properly. And that's how you get more. And some people are like, oh, how? I didn't know that's how this works. That's how you get more. So now, one of the things that you're going to go ahead and do is say, I'm going to make a table where I find crime data. So I'm going to call the table name is fields. I'm going to have like main three fields. I'm going to say name, address, VPN. And then all you need to say is like, I want to see who's using the website to like play in everyone's bank account, right? Name, address, VPN. So you're going to go ahead and say, okay, this is going to come towards everyone that works at the feds. That's the entire point. This table, we're going to put spell work on. We're going to pick an aquatic being and then put more here after opening up the portal. And then you're going to see this table end up manifesting in real life. And that's how you're going to start to call me Harry Potterisha, right? Or Harry Potter Chuku. And then we're going to go ahead and move forward. So let's get ahead and start here. Some people say that's a fun way to think about it, but why wouldn't you be able to reach that other database? You can. You just have to bring down your macros and your logos and all those different type of things. But it's really the floating point that you have to have access to, which is again closing the akasha, which is what they were looking for. They were looking for like an indispensable way to play in the planets of indigenous people, where the logos and logarithm that they're looking for is stored. But that's impossible. They're just playing with Spanish bitches that were able to like weasel their way over here using portal functions and bad math. But look how reduced they are, right? And these are like we talked about Mantisa and Leah, and they have these different fan fiction stories, wiki fandom, and things like that, and Twilight and mating and imprinting and things like that to say, oh, look at me, I'm on the planet. Look how we did. I'm still working, but look how low their speech is, right? Or they have TV shows, Captain Planet, Miss Frizzle, and all that type of stuff to say, look, Air Clonkla, and to play back and forth and things like that, and look, spirals. But in space, they don't have much, you see. So they fractalized a certain body of theirs, and that body was connected to melanin. And this is how you get people that have no melanin. This is how you get people that are in different melanin spectrums and things like that. And one of the things is like, it's not by darkness. That's just one penny in melanin. It's even in certain colors of melanin, it's tiered and striated. But it's really about you. Somebody can be as dark as ever and completely deactivated. Somebody can be as like can be light skinned and they are fully activated. So you have to be careful with that. So these are just the wars that get things started that then end up on YouTube thousands of years later that are exposing other things, right? I feel like Carmen Eguiluz, even though I don't get paid like that. I think she's great. I hope she watches my channel. So um, let's go ahead and get started. And for those of you guys who don't know who Carmen Eguiluz is, I really encourage you to go ahead and watch Siempre de Bruja. I like that TV show. There was a lot that was in there, like regarding other things. Just watch it and just look at what they're saying so that you can help yourself. Because years later from this, you're going to be impacted by a period. Wow. So let's keep on going. I like the Spanish kick. So we're going to go ahead and we have the three tables, and then we're going to go ahead and say, where are we scanning this from? So remember, we're going to go ahead and say, we have a supercomputer. Select from all, right? And then what? And then we're looking for specific type of data information. And this is where servers are comes in. So this is again from the tradition of what we say is the Buddhist, Asia, Angkor Wat, Tibet, China, Japan, some parts of Vietnam if you're really into more of the warfare. Um, if you want to know about fruits, you go to the Philippines. There's something like secret there that people don't need to know about. So we're going to use that language in this because they own a lot of this because of what ended up happening on the planet with their federation. It's called Switzer. So Switzer is all about carrying different levels of data down in a specific form of pathway using different sheet formations, nibbles, bits, bytes, and sheet formations, basically how you string data together to then form another bigger piece of data that's classified a different way, to then form another different type of data that's classified in a different way. And all the way down the line, there's different rules and regulations in coding that goes on to be able to allow that data to carry a memory information and then be paid for and things like that, and then be attributed to a specific dollar amount. So Switzer helps us do that. So we're going to bring down Switzer, and then we're going to say that we want to use the computer intentionally to bring down information into our table that we formed. So you're going to go ahead and say select from all, and then the table that you're going to bring down. So let's say it's any table. Let's say, for instance, like, I don't know where this data is stored, but I have access to every table. So let's see, for instance, maybe this table is stored like at Amazon. It can be even at Google. It can be at any company. Yes, but I'm looking for form fields in those tables and forms, right? So it's organized some way somehow because even if they're when they're on their little pedophile websites, they're like, oh, you're a part of our group and you get to get access to this site. And then that's where you get to use all the different tools and things like that. It's like the JP Morgan portal where you can go in as a merchant and like download different like tools to be able to use, which can also be redeveloped and rebuilt by me and turn into other things like great crypto. By the way, we're ready to build. right? So let's keep on building. So select from all. Now I want to find that table where I don't need to know the table name or even the field name. I can just say that this field is going to have your name, your this, your that, and I'm pulling on the intentional rows that have the information that I want. So I'm going to say cursor, and then I'm going to write um, user name, right? But in this case, because they're probably not putting their name even on their little pedal websites, we're just going to say um, you can say MAC address because that's what we used last time. MAC address or IP, even if it's on the VPN. This one is a little bit different because we were going to put the main shell of the VPN that they're running because it's all connected to a different database that can't really hide all the way, can it? Right. So even VPN companies are under certain stipulations. That's why you have to go get some of the ones that they build online, but they get to play in your computer. Server address, and then you're going to go ahead and say um, cursor. You're going to see the cursor. So we have the address, right? Because somewhere, somehow, even if like, let's say for instance, none of this data is in the same table. It can take years or months to even find all of that by combing through all the data and then going against existing like stuff that they have from the FBI, tapping people, this and this and that. That's true. Or you can be able to play with this Rizzer and Yanni and Huey, and then you can bring down like bigger sheets of data that can handle the logarithm that comes down and does it. Because all this is stored in one place anyways. And where is that? What do you mean? All the information that we're looking for, it's already stored somewhere. It's in space on a database for the memory crystal that is running the floating points that we're all using collectively on the internet. So those floating points are all connected to the planet. So you just go in the planetary database and say, oh, let me just play with Pluto and see who's like running floating points here. And then I can just attach to that in the past, current, now, or even into the future and like play with what they are storing there through that floating point. And that's what you could play when you're like a high priestess of like this type of Akasha where you can like really play in the computer like that. And that's what they want to do. And they can. So we're going to say, exactly. Right. This is great. How can I get this like in real life? Well, like I said, you would first start with like a container of C plus. In that container of C plus, you would have basically like vectors, which is like your math. Like you have to have your maths, right? And after like, what's your maths? Your maths have to be clean. And bringing down like your vectors, your initiators, things like that, your floating points, your BCD values, all of that, because the BCD values like are set to specific satellites that are all like running around this planet or that they are playing with, but it's like a few ones that you can play with. This is where people like are paying for stars, like, oh, you can buy a star and then that's your own floating point, and then you can start your own like telecoms company. So one of the things here is we don't need to do all that. We can just like type into the address and like find it like that. One of the things that happens here is when you're doing your maths and setting your container, you bring down the math there, your floating points there, your BCD format there, and then you're able to bring down the planet. Like one of the things that people don't know is that why they went to war with Nigeria is because Igbo people specifically had something called Odanani. And with Odanani, you can basically, it was used to like organize market days. So with this system, not a lot of people know Odanani. People don't know Odanani at all. It's actually something that you can bring down and then you can go ahead and digitize it and turn it into a BCD format. And then from there, you can start working with the planets more. And you have to be able to go ahead and do that. So some of you guys are like, what was that? What would that look like? It will look like this. One of these. Okay. And then what you would basically say is, oh, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn that into digital. And you could do it like that, right? So we can use that. So that's how you would do that, and then build a system like that, right? And then connect to those different databases, and then have like a specific floating point that where you create the table, the file, the folder, and things like that. And then all you need is just like the initial URL for whatever website that you're going onto, and then that's just it. So, or you can just go on Down Detector that's connected to all of their databases. And then from there, you can just use that. Because Down Detector has like a piece of information for all the different telecoms websites and things like that. And then from there, what you can do is just use that, which they're doing now, and blaming everyone else and like playing with hip hopping a new type of VPN. You can go ahead and build like a layer over the internet as a whole. And then you can get into any database, any computer. And that's what India is waiting for me to do so people can stop blaming them for problems. So let them eat them, let them do what they're doing. I think India is a great place. I want to have a farm there. So you're gonna have your address, your MAC address, and then I'm gonna also look for their name, their real name, first and last, because it's somewhere. And once again, the cursor before handles it. Now, let's say, for instance, you have the tables already. You're not going to use the cursor. You're going to say, okay, I have all my databases at my job. I want to look for people who are using a specific type of IP address arrangement because that says that you're coming from a VPN. That's how we're going to whittle down who's playing with this Capital One. Okay, that's true because it's Capital One that they go to. They go to the Capital One cafe and get there because Capital One is connected to a lot of banks because they have a specific type of connection to that platform to do credit rating, where they're rating your bank account, and that's how people are not able to get bank accounts. So what you're going to go ahead and do is going to say, instead of doing cursor, you're going to say, oh, I already have a table full of IP addresses. And then I'm going to look for people who visited CES conference because I can say from divination, most of the people that have gone to the CES conferences, they have been involved in this. Like all of them were there at one point in time. It was like something where they were all at one place at one point in time at a meeting, just to say that. Not because the conference is like, oh, they were just all there. So we're going to just use that. So I'm just going to say addresses, and then I'm going to say CES, right? I already have this table. Let's say I already have this table. CES, attendance, VIP. Okay. And then I'm going to cross that with also a Capital One visits. You're going to catch at least 9 people with this. And if you catch them, you catch everybody. And this is how like it's so fun being a data analyst. Like it's such a great thing for like data integrity too, because it's like, oh, why do I need to go through all these different data sets and things like that, extraction, getting clearance, where I can say, let me be intentional with what I want to look for, right? And then from there, I'd be able to craft my design and craft my questions and know exactly what I want to pull on and be intentional, even in like the energetic scripting that gets me onto the neural network of what I want to see and what I want to find. So there's how you'd be like, so let's get hood with it. Because maybe I may pull out my Bible later, right? Capital One visit card, address card, right? So let's say you already have this table of who's visiting Capital One, their visits, their address, their cards, or I already have this financial information of who went to go eat, right? So I'm gonna get this from financial data, and then it's gonna say financial data, Capital One, because it says Capital One Pete's Coffee. So financial data being the table, Capital One being specifically what you're looking for. So that's how you would do it if you already have all these tables, right? And then this is like another thing too, like, oh, be integrity as like a data analyst or so. Like if you know you have the skills and the gifts to do something really great, like that can crack a lot of cases and codes, why not just do it? I feel like the government is so like weird, like, oh, we can be doing things in a much more forward way as long as we accept the fact that divination is real. And it's more than just tarot cards and just like crystals and guessing. It's actually a very scientific process that has chemical sequences attached to it. Who told you that you can look into chemical sequences? Well, I got my DNA done, right? Because I wanted to know where I was from a long time ago. And then I was able to read my like FASTA file and things like that. And I had certain like enzyme sequences, a lot of lysine, which was telling me that my histone sequences was more than just four, that I had double histones. So that means like I was working with like not a double chromosome. That means like you're a double bad bitch. That means that I was working with one mega chromosome, and she was really ratchet, and she was putting down four strings of DNA at a time instead of two to the spools of his bones. So from there, I was like, oh, I can test to see like who's a psychic and who's not, which is what they're playing now and what they want to find out by playing with you in the laboratory. And that's so ungodly. And that's why, as a good scientist, you have to be with the Lord. Where's my Bible? The book of Esther? She's calling me, but I feel like it's because she's just reminding me, like, daughter, there's always going to be warfare. Mother, yes. Mm. Oh, look at this. I opened up to Songs of Songs, and it says, "This is a Song of Solomon." And that's so funny because if you read Toni Morrison, this is going to actually be absolutely tragic. For me to open this up and it's on the Song of Solomon, and it says right here, "How handsome you are, my love, how delightful. Our bed is verdant. The beams of our house are cedars, and our rafters are cypresses. I'm a wildflower of Sharon, a lily of the valleys." That's saying a lot there. You're saying you're wild, you're double wild again. That's like saying you got double, triple, quadruple chromosomes and they all function at the same time and they do what they want. Whoa. So, no, no. Yeah. Proverbs? No. Jeremiah, I'm gonna let you rest. Mm-mm. No, 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 no. Mm-mm. Verse 1, 2. No. Samuel chapter 4. Samuel's words came to all Israel. Israel went out to meet the Philistines in battle and came camped at Ebenezer while the Philistines camped at Aphek. as as a data scientist, right? I'm stopping because this is so great because I said I feel like I need to pull out the Bible and talk to the Lord. So here they're talking about like a trek that someone wants to go ahead and take, and as they were walking, they realized that there was going to be a prophecy of misuse and abuse of resources amongst the kingdom because people were too busy about grapes and wine and harvesting and things like that, and not enough about the Lord. There is going to be in one of these databases, there's going to be something about analysis of farms with Israel and pharmaceutical companies and farms with Israel, and something that like started the whole conflict with Palestine in the first place that's going to unravel all of Israel. And I think that's where people should focus right now for those of you guys who are doing that type of fight. When the troops returned to the camp, the elders of Israel asked, "Why did the Lord defeat us today before the Philistines? Let's bring the ark of the Lord's covenant from Shiloh. Then it will go with us and save us from our enemies." So the people sent men to Shiloh to bring back the ark of the covenant of the Lord of armies, who was enthroned between the cherubim. They're basically talking about going to go do rituals and offerings and spell work so they can stop getting defeated in war. I know somebody named Shiloh. She's a dog. Eli's two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, like Phineas and Ferb, were there with the Ark of the Covenant of God. When the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord entered the camp, all the Israelites raised such a loud shout that the ground shook. Good. The Philistines heard the sound of the war cry and asked, "What's this loud shout in the Hebrews' camp?" When the Philistines discovered that the Ark of the Lord had entered the camp, they panicked. "A God has entered their camp," they said. "Woe to us, nothing like this has happened before. Woe to us, who will rescue us from these magnificent gods after getting defeated." That's God right there. Could be somebody at their job wondering why their case was reopened, wondering why their case was closed, wondering why things are going on. And I'm just going to tell you right now that a lot of you guys do spiritual healing because some of the things that you guys see are very ungodly and so disastrous and like chaotic. And I understand why you may feel the way that you feel in the depths of your soul. There's nothing wrong with that. They're showing you blasphemy, but you need a proper outlet to deal with that and translate that. And I feel like that's what some of you guys need to see here is that there's still hope. Maybe you will go ahead and find your Ark of the Covenant, which could be because some even when we're talking about Ark of the Covenant, this can be whistleblower protection laws or calling your old job or contacting your family. What's your Ark and what's your covenant? And how can you call on that in this time for this work that you're about to do? Because people are crazy. I feel like that's just it. God has entered the camp, and that is it. Right. So let's continue. So now let's go there. We're going to go ahead and bring this down. Like, okay, I'm going to bring this here from all, and then where? And then insert into, you have your existing table. So let's say, for instance, you have existing tables. Let's start there. That's the easier one. You're going to say existing table. You're going to say Sir Cursor when you're doing it the spiritual way, right? Because you see how I just did that. You're going to say Sir Cursor, and then this is going to make it there. Existing table. And then remember, how does it know to get 1, 2, and 3? Because remember, we put it right here. So it's going to lay down 1, 2, and 3 in ascending order. Okay. From beginning to end, 365 days in a year. I need your same old loving, baby. Ooh, because all I want to do is spend my life with you. I want your same old love. Okay. So also when we're talking about healing in the Bible, I sing that because some of you guys also need to like listen to those type of songs. And like Earth, Wind, and Fire, like, isn't it great that you can forget about it and come back like, oh my God, thank God you're here. So you can say your existing table, right? And then it's gonna bring this information into your existing table in ways that you didn't imagine. Like, oh, I just got this clearance. Like, okay, let me see what I can do. Or, oh, she just extracted and she got fired. Let me look at her computer, right? So you never know how you can make off. So, or you saw how the cartel did it. They just got in somebody's car. So you never know how you may find this data. But when the opportunity presents itself, you must strike. So let's go ahead and move forward. Let's say, for instance, you have the table and the data. You already know what you're going to do. You're going to put it into existing table. That's how you would do that. Okay. So let's say, for instance, like I'm making this table. I just made a blank table. I'm going to go ahead and then the first thing I'm going to start to do is write down like insert into, let's say, circle. It will be circle win test table. Test table. So then what ends up happening is the first thing that I'm going to start doing is to get like access points. Okay, access points. Who's in my network? Clearance opportunities. Existing sources, paid and unpaid, right? And that's how you be a good data analyst. And that's how you like get stuff done at your job. So these people already have these type of like functions and things like that. It's called like world octopus and stuff like that. So let's keep on going. So now, there you go. Let's go ahead and make your table. This is a great opportunity. This is like a great way to bring me in for a training. I would love to come in like and start like working with people like this. I'm going to share this on my LinkedIn, I think, because people need to see that like data scientists have like they're all from all different lives, walks of life. I love God and I read the Bible and things like that. It helped me be a good data analyst because I just pray to God and ask like what should you want me to ponder into if I'm taking a task or a subject and things like that. And then God is very like scientific too. God likes numbers. God likes chemicals and things like that. It's things that God made, right? How would my eye even fathom for and understand what it was if I did not have the mind of God? So this is where you start to understand like, oh, if for me to be able to do these type of things that are going to influence decision making, I should know those type of things. I should have that type of system. I want this type of anatomy. So there you guys have it, okay?